Enter 2014 A New You. By Santosh Jha. Thank you for downloading this free ebook. Towards a better and happier you in 2014. It is not that only people await good times. Good times also await good people to come and hoist the potentials seeded in the soil of future. In the year 2014, you are sure you do wish the new year to bring better things for you. It is only natural. Every new day should make things better and improved for all of us. However, this wish comes with a certain realization simmering deep within your consciousness that this year has made it very clear that things in the world we live are going to be tough, and as trends are, the new year 2014 may well carry forward the gloom, troubles and uncertainties of the preceding year. Let it be. Why should you worry? In the 4 million years of evolution of humanity till date, there never has been a year which has not challenged humanity. This is rather good for the race and its evolution to greater intelligence and wellness, as we always evolve better when things are tougher. Real men and women never grumble about challenges and problems. They rather design and devise a way out of it. The world we live is what it is, neither good nor bad. It is neutral and objective. Somehow, it is an individual's position in a particular milieu that lands him or her in wellness or troubles. The individual has it, how it takes the world as. We all can evolve, design and devise our wellness and lead ourselves into a life positioning, from where troubles seem very manageable and wellness seems an ambient milieu. What we are talking about is a simple way, which can put us all in a new and novel state of mind and consciousness in the new year 2014. This shall make us a super person, endowed with required skills and personal resources to solve troubles and enhance personal excellence and wellness. As you are about to enter 2014, it is the right time to answer 5 simple questions. This shall surely facilitate a better, happier and more stable new year for you. The 5 questions are: 1. How can I be a brilliant problem solver? 2. How can I make winning a habit? 3. How can I be successful in love and relationships? 4. How can I have a personalized spiritual wellness model? 5. How can I have a worldview that makes me stable and joyous within? The 5 questions actually cover almost all possible areas of life where we feel troubled and lose our wellness. If we have the ability and personal resources to solve our problems, be a winner in life situations, be great in love and our relationships, have spiritual wellness and a worldview that makes us cool and collected, we have no reason why we should not be happier and better in the coming new year 2014. Let us not waste time and get down to the answers of the 5 questions. Before that, just talk to your inner self and reiterate that the coming year, you won't allow yourself to drift and shall stick to the resolve that 2014 is going to be my best year of life and I shall make it happen. Tell yourself that there is a super person within you and all you have to do is to raise your bar and be into it to awaken the sleeping and procrastinated potential in you. The 9 hindrances. Before we take up the crucial 5 questions, it is equally important that we list and remind ourselves of 9 impediments, which often keep us away from success in any venture of life. It is human nature, and once we admit that we all are human and have this natural inclination to drift away from our goals, we are better off. Knowledge of a possible reason of failure surely enhances the probabilities of success. These 9 hindrances to success, as listed in ancient yogic philosophy and reiterated by all wisdom, are: 1. Illness. A healthy and physically mentally fit person alone can have the energy and willpower to pursue his or her goals of life. It is ancient wisdom that every person should live his full and fit life to experience and experiment with life in its fullness. One also needs to be there as fit and fine to enjoy when success finally comes calling. 2. Perseverance. Success is a long-drawn process. A tree bears fruit in long run. It is tough to keep the energy going in the long run, as human nature is to see and enjoy utility and fruition only in short run. Believing in self's purpose keeps one focused and at it. 3. Doubts. Many people develop doubts over what they aim and pursue. It is a typical human nature. Doubts about any utility and endeavor clouds the energy of the enterprise, and many people leave it midway. Once you decide it, keep your mind away from doubts. The simple reason is, any effort has inbuilt utility, even if it does not lead to the desired success. Most people are benefited by failures than by success. Believe it. 4. Carelessness. When you start an enterprise, you shall do it with full throttle, but later, some energy withers away as elements of focus and care towards the goal shift away. This is the major cause of failure. People start and end up with an effort, still the end result is not success. A baby grows to be a man or a woman after years of careful and focused upbringing. Only a parent knows what it takes to grow things. 5. Lethargy. The body-mind mechanism of every human would want an easy and comfortable option. Your subconscious mind shall urge to take things easy and would also devise ways to bypass the long route and create shortcuts. Those who rise above the call of their subconscious mind and keep listening to their higher consciousness to remain alert and committed, win and enjoy success. 6. Senses. Our 5 senses are designed for instant gratification, and as an enterprise needs to keep them tamed and restrained, they shall occasionally rebel and egg you to indulge them. They shall urge you to drift away from the long-term goals of life's attainment and instead listen to instant self-gratification. Winning over them is toughest for all of us. In contemporary culture, where everywhere people are into indulgence, restraint is a virtue not lauded and preserved. Be warned. 7. Misguidance. Success is not the rule, it is rather an exception. There are only a handful who succeed. It is therefore only natural that within the culture and society we live, there shall be elements which shall prompt us to mislead and make us drift from our goals. It shall always be easy for us to get tempted, fall in the trap and fall apart. 8. Indecisiveness. Often, success may not come in full measure. Or, one can feel that he or she did not get the desired success. There can always be indecision towards the end result, or it can come midway of an enterprise. Never allow it to hamper your vision. Things take time and may not always come the way we visualize. Let time pass and settle things. 9. Rootedness. They say, genius is in practice and perseverance. One has to keep rooted to his or her goals and beliefs. Being at it is only one task. Staying there with perseverance is the last wisdom. Often, lack of energy to stay put and keep being at it, unsettle the chances of success. Let us be firm and focused on our goals and enter the 5 crucial questions. All best. Question: how can I be a brilliant problem solver? Answer: the world we live in is what it is, neither good nor bad. It is people who are the theatre of all pains as well as joys. The human mind is the most capable and instinctively galvanized mechanism to solve big problems. Still, the same human consciousness is the most potent dilemma. The core trouble is, modern-day problems are so dressed up partly by our complex environment and partly by our consciousness that we fail to see the naked reality of the nature of problems. We can see them clearly, if we undress them. It is an art we all can master. How? Solution of problems is not a big task. If you have a problem, you already know it. That solution is somewhere inherent and embedded in the problem itself. The milieu around us presents some factors in an arrangement, which stand in our disadvantage, at a particular stage of our life positioning, and we call the outcome of such an arrangement as a problem. Often, solution presents itself as some alternative arrangement or placement of the same factors in such a way that they turn advantageous for us, hence qualifying as a solution. In most cases, especially the modern-day problems we face, The artistry of arriving at solutions is not in creating or generating something externally but in rearranging and repositioning the already present factors and elements in some alternative ways. That is why we need little action but loads of calm and objective reception in analyzing the factors that essentially constitute a problem. Elaboration of the idea. It is pertinent to reiterate here that understanding the mechanism always helps in understanding the problems, and this in turn reaches us to bear solutions. The new wisdom has facilitated the objective and singular understanding of the mechanism. Let us spare our precious attention to the details of the mechanism so that we have better understanding of the root of the problems. We have layers of conscious, subconscious and unconscious elements of personality, and all elements are within an individual and operate simultaneously. There is layer of instincts, tendencies and complexes, which one part of our brain handles. Then is a layer of our learnt and acquired knowledge and facts, which is largely the cultural mind. And, most importantly, there is a layer of our individual talent and potential, which is largely a result of our unlearning in adulthood, forming our decultured and demystified mind consciousness. This is termed as higher consciousness. An individual is often split and conflicted between different layers of consciousnesses. Different layers present different demands simultaneously. Sensual demands, emotional needs, impulse, imaginations, etc. The ideal person is one who develops a poise between all the requirements of different dimensions of consciousnesses, and this is possible only when this person has a holistic, integrative and assimilative perspective of all these demands of the self. The higher consciousness needs to strike harmony and balance. This poise is the worthy precursor to the naked solution. An individual has subpersonalities within his broad personality, and often there is either a conflict or imbalance of sorts. This is psychosis. The idea of subpersonalities is a way of conceptualizing how we shift from one identity or shade of consciousness to another as we move through life. In a single day, we may move through having different, often conflicting and competing identities. In the morning, we have a good talk with our partner and we feel loved and happy. In daytime, our partner does not reply to our SMS and we feel ignored. In the evening we see him with another beautiful person and we feel hurt and jealous. At night, our partner comes home with a nice gift and we feel wanted and relieved. Within 12 hours, we can be victors as well as victims. We are unconsciously buoying up in a pool of emotions almost all the time. A subpersonality functions mechanically and instinctively. It is like acting out a routine. It is our reactive mode consciousness. While a subpersonality is just a portion of the personality, we can and often become totally identified with it, placing its needs and perspectives above all else. This is psychosis, as against the poise between all subpersonalities. The subpersonalities often act out unconscious motivations to the detriment of the personality as a whole. An individual needs a harmony of the different, often conflicting and competing roles, subpersonalities. This poise and balance between subpersonalities is far more challenging in modern world, as we are living in a very complex socio-economic environment and our life has been unduly pressured by cultural benchmarks of success. Also, we live in a social space full of extremities and conflicting notions. In contemporary world, psychosis is fast becoming normal, and in the popular culture, poise is being labeled a benchmark of failure. Be warned. The subpersonality concept is particularly useful for taking charge of an automatic reaction pattern or for resolving inner conflicts. We all must identify our subpersonalities, register their conflicts, and then, consciously de-identifying from them, engaging in a dialogue with your higher conscious self. The higher consciousness is not something aloof from an individual. The higher self is not a rejection of individuals' baser selves. This is a mind positioning within, which accepts conflicts of the different personality aspects and functions. It is a super state of mind awareness, which recognizes all aspects, be it in any state of unconscious, and attempts to bring them to the layer of consciousness for harmonizing them into a fruitful whole. This mechanism of the higher consciousness is very crucial for effective understanding of root problems and their naked solutions. Question: how can I make winning a habit? Answer: in all of us, there is this definite winner. However, this champion is a random warrior, wins but not always. We all have the determination, patience, discipline and the mastery to be a sure and sustained all-weather all-season hero. As we miss the knowledge of this mechanism of winning, this random winner is unable to sustain the artistry of winning, to qualify as a habitual hero. There is a definite hero in all of us. We all have an inbuilt and natural ability, a born facility, which makes us eligible for understanding the mechanism of winning. The only trouble is, eligibility is not automatic qualification. All of us are born with a facility called instinctive inquisitiveness. This is our born eligibility. However, we need to orient and align our inquisitiveness towards objective knowledge to qualify as an intelligent person, who is the master of mechanisms, not only the puppet of mechanism. It is the mind consciousness, which makes us a random warrior, and it is the same mind, which holds the potential of we being the all-weather and all-season hero, the cherished pole position, for which we all have born eligibility. Elaboration of the idea: we have so many examples in our daily lives, where we see that if we have prepared ourselves well for multiple factors and have anticipated rightly the dynamic interplay of these factors, we are successful in having a smooth and safe go. We are driving a car on the busy highway. Driving itself is a multitasking skill. Those who have better coordination of their eyes, hands and legs, shall be driver with lesser chances of accidents. This is, however, only one part of successful driving. You also need to have intuitive anticipation towards possible mistakes of not only your own driving, but also of others, who shall be ahead and behind you on the highway. You have to anticipate correctly and in time, if a driver ahead you does something silly. Accident happens not only when you do a wrong, but also when others do wrong with you. You are in trouble both ways. Moreover, on the highway, you need to know where those accident-prone zones are and where drivers usually make errors of judgment. There may be a signboards warning you, but you must have this pre-knowledge, back in your subconscious. It means, you must be very aware of the entire stretch of the highway. We can see how a simple thing like driving a car is such a multidimensional skill, where we have to master the interplay of so many factors. However, as we have become used to all this, we do not feel its burden, as these skills have become part of our subconscious mind. The skill has become an auto-function of subconscious mind. The fact remains that even when we all have been allowed licenses for driving, this does not mean we all are heroes of the highways. Many of us are only random warriors. Many of us are just eligible drivers. To be a qualified driver, one needs to have long experiences of the highway driving. The finer skills, like coordination, anticipation, judgment of error, preemptive moves and precautionary measures, et al. Come to us only through practice and experience. There is a very good metaphor of this skill in psychology. It is called helicopter view consciousness. For example, you are standing midway a 5-kilometer road, between point A and point C. As a car starts on the road from point A for point C, the spheres are defined for you at point B, where you stand midway. The car at point A is your future, as it shall take 10 minutes to reach you. As it reaches you at point B, it is your present. The car shall take another 10 minutes to move away to reach point C, which then shall become your past. You can deal with the safety and well-being of its passenger only when it comes to the domain of your present at point B, where you stand on the road. Before and after that, you have no control over the car and passenger's destiny. However, if you are given a helicopter at point B and you lift up to a certain point from where you can see the start of the car at point A, its entire journey down to point C, there shall be no future, no past. The entire stretch shall fall in the domain of your present, as you can see the car all along the road. As everything is in present, you have full control over the safety of both car and its passenger. You can see everything and therefore can put up a warning, before anything untoward is to happen. Life and its problems are also like the journey from point A to point C. Usually, we are grounded in our consciousness and perspectives towards life, and it is like restricting our views at one small point, between the two ends. If we can rise up our consciousness to this helicopter view perspective, we can have a view of our entire lifespan as one clear long landscape. Everything shall be in the domain of present and within our possible control. Usually, the conscious mind in we all is restrictively concerned and knowledgeable only about a part of the entire complex mechanism of life and living. This consciousness is a restrictive positioning of a random warrior. The all-weather and all-season true hero shall definitively be aware and responsible towards the whole. The holistic, assimilative and integrative perspective towards the mechanism, its entirety, is the hallmark of a true hero. This facility of conscious mind, to extend the domain of our present to past and even future, is not something new to humanity. Somehow, this facility or faculty, which some people had in the past, was based entirely on intuitiveness of the mind consciousness. Modern humans can learn the art by simply understanding the mechanism of mind. It was believed that some people were born with the quality of an intuitive mind. There was a belief among masses that they could predict events from past and future. There was also a cult of Tantricism, an occult tradition as well as mainstream tradition of meditative powers to develop intuition, which was used to predict past and future. The core idea behind all these was to have a mind consciousness, which could have the receptive brilliance of a helicopter view perspective. In my research, talking with many of them with intuitive power, I found that the ability to predict right about past and future, which masses called magic, the artistry, was essentially that of a mind consciousness, which had special abilities of rising above the plane and be able to see things, as the person could see from a helicopter. The aggrieved people would come to these magicians and tantric and tell them their problems. For example, a woman came and asked the tantric to trace his son, who had gone missing for last 1 year. The tantric listened to the woman and then closed his eyes. Minutes after, he said, he had the divine vision that her son is still alive and he left home on his own accord. Tantric asked the woman to search for the son in a place 500 kilometers east from the place he lived. The woman found her son after a year in a city around the same vicinity the Tantric had said. I sat with the Tantric and talked about all this. My friendliness to him made him say things, which he would not reveal to others. He said, when a person is in trouble, especially for a long period, his or her natural abilities for rational thinking is eclipsed. People who generally come to us have little education or unsound reasoning faculties. They tell us everything. We then ask for some specific information about their trouble and about the environment, where the trouble started. We then close our eyes, sit in a meditative consciousness of complete reception. All these information we leave with this meditative unconscious mind for churning. We have evolved this facility to switch off our conscious mind. The intuitive unconscious mind has a strange facility of doing its own strange mathematics. It does its own interpolation and even extrapolation. It may take some minutes or few hours, but the unconscious mind finally puts all these information into a template of sorts, where we can see pictures of past and future arranged in a particular order. We then use the faculty of the conscious mind to create a pattern or sequence of events. On this basis, we predict and it usually comes true. There were great similarities between what the Tantric did and what doctors used to do 50 years back. Then, there were little specialist diagnostic tests of modern times available to the doctors. For diagnosis, they had to depend largely on the symptoms the patient described of his troubles or any external symptoms visible. The most popular doctor was one who could diagnose the disease correctly. Many of the doctors of old school used the power of intuitive mind to diagnose their diseases correctly. Many of them practiced the art of meditation, worships and even playing musical instruments to attune and align the mind towards a state of high reception. They depended heavily on details and then used the intuitive minds to work out a pattern, which would then help them in predicting the right diagnosis. Somehow, we all do it in one form or the other. Just visit a casino to see how the master gambler is the one who is sharp and prompt enough to predict a pattern in all games and make the right choices. It is our mind, which is constantly doing the calculations of the permutations and combinations, scattered all around us. The interpolative and extrapolative mind consciousness is a random facility of mind, which we all can master to be the hero of winning habits. Question: how can I be successful in love and relationships? Answer: love is usually accepted with three elements of mystery, magic and marvel. The three M's land most of us in inexplicable troubles and pains of love. The magnificent dualism is, love's mystery makes it flamboyantly thrilling. Still, the mysticism engenders loads of confusion, making many of us flop in love. Success of love is in non-dualistic positioning, a simple and practical realism, most of us refuse to accept. The dualism is in the mysticism, magic and marvel of love. This mysticism of love is what most lovers get attracted to initially. This suits the consciousness of love. This marvel of love gives the men and women huge kicks of life. Young minds get huge thrills in journeying amidst the mist of mysticism of love, as precariousness of the enterprise always has its own joy. Similar is the human desire, when it comes to religion and spiritualism. Mysticism is preferred state here too. However, this mysticism further confuses those in love and faith, and this confusion in turn leads to calamitous patterns of behaviors and actions in love. The resultant pain and chaos is cyclic. However, the new thinking explains hitherto unexplored aspects of the physical, biochemical, emotional and other mechanisms and processes of love, as human mind handles them, in a holistic, assimilative and integrative way. This surely takes away lots of mysticism, magic and marvel out of the age-old notion of love and archetypal imagery of love in society. However, it is hugely helpful in clearing the mist of confusion and chaos around the very core idea of love. This surely makes us be successful in love and relish true love and absolute intimacy. Elaboration of the idea: we all need to understand and accept it with a non-judgmental and objective mind that usually, when we are in love, we are in the mystical middle of a very intense and powerful dualism. True love is one beautiful and everlasting poise of person and personality. However, in our pop culture, we all can see how love is one huge psychosis. The trouble is, both poise and psychosis can be simultaneously present and active in one single person, at any given time. A person seeks to be in love to internalize this poise to the core of his or her personality. However, the same person is battling against the psychosis on the periphery of his or her personality, as the culture and society we live in exposes him or her to loads of conflicts and competitiveness. This dualism often expresses itself in chaotic love emotions. When we love someone, he or she becomes an essential and ingrained part of our self-image and systemic wellness homeostasis. We start taking him or her for granted as part of me and mine. That is why, when there is trouble in love, or a situation where it seems the love situation is unsettled, we feel hugely threatened. We unconsciously feel that our very survival and core wellness is threatened. In this unsettled situation, the very person who was the receiver of all our love, largesse, poses as the one who is a threat to our wellness. We all have experienced and witnessed this situation all around us, when a lover kills his or her beloved and also kills himself or herself. Why? This dualism plays the villain. The dualism of the subconscious mind makes us do all unimaginable things. The simple reason is, when your love is threatened, your unconscious mind quickly attempts to identify the enemy, who threatened your survival instincts. as your beloved himself or herself is someone who jolted your love wellness. The unconscious mind identifies him or her as enemy. The war is then declared against this enemy. The dualism is playing its mystical marvels to us. The special someone, the beloved, whom we love so much that we cannot think of living a moment without him or her, becomes our enemy number one. Depending on how we all have been culturally trained to treat our enemies, we start executing our battle tactics against him or her. Those who are well groomed, trained by parents and family to be accommodative and compassionate with even the enemies, shall never opt for violent and overtly physical battle plans. However, they can be sadistic about them. Those who have a culture of violence can go to any limit. As it is said, everything is fair in love and war. Global data shows that intimate partner violence is hugely on rise. Failed love and intimacy has become the chief pain inflictor in our pop culture. The easiest expression of the desire to inflict pain on intimate partners is promiscuity and character assassination. Sadism, aggression and behavioral hostility are sure signs of a troubled and unsettled wellness homeostasis of the person. This person shall be hugely intense and passionate in love. However, be sure, when things are on the low, such a person can be calamitous and extreme with expressions of his or her desire to secure his or her wellness. As we said earlier, researchers have confirmed that when a person's dear ideas or people are in trouble, his or her biosociological, psychological, emotional and volitional homeostasis is disturbed, and this leads him or her to dysfunctional health and even death. The perception of threat to their homeostasis is very subjective, varying hugely. That is why, we all need to understand and accept, love needs huge preparedness. We all are given enough time for the preparations. When I am perfectly settled and in absolute poise of my overall wellness homeostasis, then only I am ready for assimilation and integration of love. Moreover, the special someone I love has to be in this poise too. Then only the magic works. Question: how can I have a personalized spiritual wellness model? Answer: one needs to be in lasting physical, emotional and ideational wellness. Tips, bills, and shows abound. Still, wellness is elusive. Wellness is largely a function of emotional poise of consciousness. Wisdom of wellness is in being the master of mechanism, internalizing the multifaceted life-living realisms and then creating a personalized model of wellness. Nothing external helps. Wellness is a function of wider poise of person and personality, which includes factors not only material but also emotional. A person is in complete wellness when there is an overall poise between the cognitive factors such as income, wealth, comfort, leisure and health, as well as emotional factors such as trust, security, integration with family, friends, colleagues, connectivity, communication, stability, sense of desirability and spiritual purpose, etc. We live in a modern complex world, where cognitive elements of good life are improving considerably. However, as emotional elements of life and living are largely unsettled and conflicted, most of us fail to hit the road of the perpetuity of poise for larger wellness. Wellness involves a large spectrum of poise in multidimensional domains: the spiritual, physical, mental, social and emotional. Moreover, the emotional and spiritual aspect of wellness is far more complex than the cognitive ones, as they are the intangibles of life. Wellness is a dynamic idea. It is a goal of life, for which we all need to strive every day. Wellness is not a static state. It is not like wealth, which we acquire once and keep it for long. It requires ongoing attention and timely intervention to the details of evolving social, spiritual and physical life. Wellness as a holistic notion of physical, emotional as well as ideational prosperity does not mean only lack of impediments to good life, but also having loads of ingredients of good life. For wellness, positivity is far more crucial than simple lack of negativity. Wellness is well within the reach of all of us, yet we all need to constantly redefine ourselves as well our notion of wellness, as our minds and bodies evolve to optimize capacities and excellence. Wellness is essentially a consciousness positioning. It is not an external or tangible entity, which one can create like wealth. Wellness is a poise of consciousness, which is engendered when we have all elements of our life, physical, emotional, ideational and material, in perfect harmony and symmetry with each other. We are ourselves a very complex mechanism. The world we live in has also become hugely complicated and conflicted. The cosmic realism is awesomely complex. Wellness poise needs to connect with all these and then strike a lasting poise. This poise is not static but dynamic, constantly evolving and changing. Only that person can attain perfect wellness and remain in perpetuity of it, who understands all the mechanisms in details and then uses the wisdom to create a wellness model for himself or herself. Elaboration of the idea. There are questions of life and living. Everyone has them. They have been there since thousands of years. Since the time these questions came into existence, the answers also started to take shape. The old wisdom attempted answers to these questions, and many of us have good faith that the answers provided by old wisdoms of religion, philosophy and spiritualism are right and probably the only answers. However, for many, they are not satisfactory answers and the questions remain valid and in search of right answers. The core questions are, why humanity everywhere is suffering and in conflict and confusion? Why is there so much fear and despair? What is the singular road to internal and external peace and harmony? What happens after death? Is rebirth true? What is the meaning and purpose of life? Did God create us and for what? What is the mechanism of God? What is the idealism of life? What is true wisdom and why it eludes humanity? The new spiritual you has a tough task in hand. You want new answers, and in fact, it is only natural, as we all are living in a new world, where realisms have a different perspective, in sync with modern scientific logic. The old wisdom, somehow, does not seem to be galvanized to update their answers in the light of the new awareness and knowledge of humanity. However, the new spiritualist in us has to do more than just seeking answers. We all have to revisit and reassess the questions first. The new spiritualist works on the premise of objective and measurable logic, a common sense, which has to be in perfect symmetry with modern knowledge of humanity. That is why, even the age-old questions need to be revisited, reframed and even reassigned and realigned in a secular and temporal perspective. First thing first, the new spiritualist has to be sure as what he or she accepts as the definition, nature and scope of spiritualism in modern contemporary worldview. Once we assign and align the modernist and contemporary structures and functions of the modern spiritualism, which the pop mystic shall accept as core creed of spiritualism, we have better and rationally objective understanding of the genesis of questions and the DNA of the answers. Spiritualism in modern contemporary context needs to be understood by some contemporary example, and for that let us use the metaphor of a computer. We all operate the computer, even kids do it smartly, some even better than adults. However, only a minuscule percentage of us know exactly how the computer is made and what scientific mechanisms and processes make it work. Most of us are operative geniuses of computer, successfully doing all functions that a computer is designed for. However, when someone asks us about how the computer does this function or then one, we are in trouble answering. Suppose a kid asks his mother as how to save a file on the computer. The happy mum shall tell the kid, oh so simple, press the Ctrl and S keys of the keyboard and it is done. The kid is not satisfied, inquisitive best as they are. The kid asks further, tell me why pressing these keys saves this file, and we are in trouble. Happy we all are to see images on the screen of the computer. However, if we are asked how these pictures from a camera got into the screen of the computer, we have trouble. The reason is, we do not know the scientific or technological details of the working mechanisms and processes of the computer. We actually do not have the need, as we all have mastered the operative functions, and it is enough to make full potential use of the computer. Kids run the Android operative system on hand devices, and nobody has to bother about the technological details of the jelly beans and gingerbreads. The trouble starts when questions are generated for answers, which pertain to finer details of the working system of a realism, the operative masters of which we happily are. So, when a kid shall ask, how the pictures sneak into the screens of your computer, we shall devise smart answers, but they shall never be true answers, as we do not know the system functioning. Someone shall answer, there are internal wires and pictures sneak through them. Someone shall answer, the computer has a hidden eye, which can see things and then reproduce. Still, another shall say, ask your mother, she has this irritating habit of sneaking things into places all over. Someone may say, you shall know, when you grow up, not now. Spiritualism is not only the operative knowledge of the system called life and living, it is much beyond that. We have a mechanism, the life around us has a mechanism, the cosmic order has a mechanism process. Usually, we do not have the express need to be in complete knowledge of the entire mechanism of the computer of life and living. Most of us do quite well without it. However, it has to be accepted with humility and innocence that questions shall always emanate, wherever there is an intricate and multidimensional mechanism and process. Questions are embedded in the mechanism. We may do without it and still do reasonably well is another thing. Still, questions cannot be wished away. The humble assertion is, we all are designed to have excellence, not just bare survival. Excellence is systemic in the mechanism and process of all designs. This excellence is a must for optimizing operative efficiency. Spiritualism is an intangible, innate, instinctive, embedded and essential consciousness of overall excellence of life and living. Spiritualism is your mind positioning for this avowed excellence of life and living. We all can operate a computer, but those with overall knowledge of the technological mechanism and process of the digital computing and artificial intelligence shall have the overall excellence in using the computer to its best possible potential. Naturally, as the computer is designed for enhancing and catalyzing the excellence of the operator, those in complete knowledge of the design and its mechanism process shall be no better positioned to land at the potential excellence. Moreover, one does not have to be a computer engineer to understand the mechanism process of the design of a computer. We just have to expand the limits of our natural inquisitiveness to get to the core principle of digital computing and artificial intelligence. All sciences and technology, in fact all wisdoms and knowledge, have a simple model to get to its core system. Religion provided its own model, using simple metaphors from nature around us. Science does it by using analogies with other simpler models. The same complex scientific theory is taught in Class 6, which scientists learn for a lifetime, in their labs. We all have the mind mechanism to understand everything in simpler and less complex models. Spiritualism is also about assimilating a simpler and easily amenable model of the complex cosmic system and life and living mechanisms. Our own body-mind homeostasis is one simple model to understand the colossal and complex mechanism of cosmic poise. It also needs to be talked here that spiritualism has no answers of its own. A computer engineer shall never give you an answer of his or her own. Being an engineer, being a spiritualist, does not qualify us to create answers. It only enables us to develop and assimilate a simpler and understandable model of an answer already embedded in a system. How a computer works has a singular and objectively replicable answer. The answers cannot change for you or me even when you and me become a computer engineer. It just extends us an endowment, an ability to understand the already present answers. Question: how can I have a worldview that makes me stable and joyous within? Answer: most of us, living in today's world of complexities, conflicts and confusion, have questions as what a person should consider as perpetual utility in life, amidst feelings of futility of everything around. What is the life and living positioning, which can make us live life in perpetual joyous consciousness, endowed with true utilities, shunning away all those futilities, which land us in pain and regret. Almost everything, which has a utility at one stage of life, stands a good chance of qualifying for futility later. For all thinking people, the larger conflict of life and living experiences is unraveled and expressed in multidimensional cyclicality of utility and futility. The inquisitive mind and its curious energy cannot leave a thinking person to rest in perpetuity of peace, as the world we live in is colossal and the questions of life and living conflicts and conundrums are infinite. However, we all need to be sure that this unsettling energy of conflict is a huge gift, not a burden. Hundreds of years back, the old wisdom, spiritualism and philosophy offered us sure answers, but in time, they have lost trust with us somehow, as they seem to somehow misfit with modern ideas. Elaboration of the idea, confusion and conflict is something built-in mechanism of ourself. Many of us have this fleeting realization that our persona is a big mystery. The mechanism of brain does these mystical things for us. Modern science says, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. In other words, you do not see what is there to be seen but what you think must be there to be seen. Similarly, what we say is not what is meant to be said but what we mean it to be said. This is what popular human definition is about conflict and confusion. However, it is one huge facility of mind, which very few of us see, accept and appreciate as something truly wondrous and desirable. Those few, who understand this, all, what they do, has been referred to as Leela, unattached role plays. Spirituality, philosophy and science are one in their core and cardinal positioning. They all accept the two entities of Maya and Leela, they name and term them differently, which usually creates the semantic conflation about the meaning, nature and scope of the two. However, it is easy to pick up commonality of strands between the three popular domains and their interpretations. We shall talk about it later. The key question is, what we should understand first, the conflict and pain of Maya or the very concept of conflict and pain. The cosmic realism and even the microcosmic subjective worldview an individual has are too vast and complex for acceptance and assimilation in our ever-evolving mind. There is, however, a simple yet fundamental idea that can be accepted as the ultimate metaphor for easy understanding. What it is. Without going into the never-ending debate and conflict of how and why this cosmic realism was created, we all can accept that what it is common for all. Even if we accept that God created the universe or it came into being accidentally, the reality of the existing universe, as it evolved and as it stands today remains the same. The dualism about past is in no way going to change the singular situationalism of the present. Therefore, the issue at hand is to talk about and assimilate what stands as realism for all as of now. This can be summed up in the following simple metaphor. What is cosmic realism is a randomized and ever-evolving notion or entity, and what all human endeavors are aimed at is to pick up a pattern of the randomization and make it a cultural value summation. This is where the conflict and pain seems to be born. The objective situation seems to be that we all are in the time and space linearity, which is highly randomized, and every passing moment adds to the entropy, degree of randomization, of this realism. On the other hand, within this randomized realism, there always is a pattern, which finally energizes the evolution mechanism. Humans have survived and succeeded only because it has been able to arrive at some pattern and live it as cultural system. Accepting the macrocosmic objective realism as a randomized energy is the acceptance of Maya in its honest best form. This Maya is the cultural manifestation of the conflict and pain that randomization energy is intrinsically loaded with, and within the ambit of this randomized energy, all creatures have to live. This is understanding Maya in the honest objective form. Then comes the role of subjectivity. This subjectivity needs to be conditioned by the objective assimilation of the realisms of Maya. Then only it creates the Satchitan and situationalism. This subjectivity engenders the myriad colors, aromas, song and dance of an exalted self, which is referred to as Leela. This Leela is the manifestation of Nisprihama, unattached role performance, emanating out of the absolute Avastha, or Chaitanya or Vastu situation, rationality and mechanism, in which the self engenders the Leela. Read the trio as consciousness, cognition, causality. The Karta subject is not the Leela performer or the action doer. Rather, it is just the object of the reception of all karma actions. We need to talk about this subject and object divide. It shall help us in understanding the true Leela positioning of the consciousness. There is a dualism of what or who is a subject and who an object in an action of life. We may also say, there are subjective and objective consciousnesses. We need to understand this through a metaphor, which has brilliant reference in religion spiritualism. Science also accepts it as the prescribed way. There is a metaphor of a bee flying and after seeing a flower landing on it and then sucking the nectar of the flower. This metaphor is a popular love symbolism. In subjective consciousness, the lover would see himself as the bee and the flower as his love attraction. The act of nectar sucking is the process of love. The raw objectivity of a newborn would also liken it with bee and sucking as love. However, in this objectivity, the subject, that is bee, has different level of innocence and conscious involvement. In a newborn's love, the prime thing is sucking and the bee, the subject is insignificant as the level of consciousness is missing. In a youth's love, the bee, the subject is of prime importance and focus as the evolved and cultured mind has a subjective and egoistic consciousness, which is unevolved in a newborn. The pure and exalted objectivity sees it completely differently and has the edge. It sees bees and flower both as insignificant. It does not even consider them as subject. It considers the fragrance and sweetness of nectar and the intrinsically symbiotic process involved between bee and flower attracting them towards each other as the real subjects. They truly are the subject as they are energizing the mechanism, and both bee and flower are just non-egoistic and non-dualistic objects involved in this beautiful process called love, which satisfies both bee and flower needs. Love is like the above metaphor. The bee and flower both are driven and guided by their basic instincts for which they are wired. The objective consciousness is coded in their being. The bee needs flower for survival as it provides him with vital nectar. The flower equally needs the bee as the bee makes the process of pollination complete. Both love each other and the love intrinsically happens. It is spontaneous and innate. The humans have similarity only till here. They differ after that. The man loves the woman and woman loves the man. It is coded in their instinctive and raw objective consciousness, but when love happens in grown-ups, it usually happens in subjective and dualistic consciousness where the cultured mind and subjective being of lover and beloved become far more primary and focus shifts from love to the dualisms of the consciousnesses of the two subjects involved. As it happens, then, love is either not existing or love becomes just the fade for the instinctive act of hardcore animalistic survival needs. For true and exalted love to happen, it must follow the route of a non-dualistic and pure objective consciousness. In such a state of consciousness, both lover and beloved shed and dissolve their dualistic and cultured mind and finally accept themselves just as unnecessary burden of being objects of love. And then, the real subject of love, the fragrance, rainbow, song, dance, everything falls in the linearity of a symmetrical and symbiotic subconsciousness where cultured consciousnesses of egoistic selves of the two objects of love dissolve into one singular and objective higher consciousness. All wisdoms, in their core awareness, assign the subject positioning not to the individual self, but all those elements in our instincts, culture, milieus and their dynamic interplay, which always remain randomized. Some call it as intangible effectors and insist that these elements, which are decisive factors of our emotions, are the real subjects. Individual consciousness remains the object of all actions as these emotions are decisive in the decision-making process of the mind consciousness. The Maya is inevitable, and we all need to understand and accept that all the Leelas of Maya, and also that of self, may not bring in joys only. However, every shade of the Leela would for sure make the self experience and experiment with something novel and sublime. This is the objectivity of the subjectivity of the cosmic realism and the superpositioned situationalism of the self that is pure magic and Satchitanand positioning. Being in control and expecting joy is not life's worth. It is just in understanding the randomized energy of Maya and then accepting the Satchitanand patterning of the Leela. Let the objectivity of the energies condition the situationalisms of the subjective self and then play with it. The song and dance shall follow on the platform which lengths between the two extremes of objectivity and subjectivity. Let Satchitanand prevail and consume every realism. More on it. Simple it may sound, but it is surely not easy to have the above 5 questions answered in a satisfactory way. Each question needs to be revisited and answered in details and with multifaceted perspectives. The answers above are just snippets from their books. I have written specifically dealing with all 5 questions exclusively. They are very low priced and meant for larger wellness, as even small proceeds from them go to charity. The ebooks are listed below, are available globally and just a click away. The books below shall give you detailed answers. Details of my ebooks are listed below. About the author. People say, what conspire to make you what you finally become are always behind the veil of intangibility. Someone called it intangible effectors. Inquisitiveness was the soil I was born with, and the seeds these intangible effectors planted in me made me somewhat analytical. My long stint in media, in different capacities as journalist, as brand professional and strategic planning, conspired too. However, I must say it with all innocence at my behest that the chief conspirators of my making have been the loads of beautiful and multidimensional people, who traversed along me, in my life journey so far. The mutuality and innocence of love and compassion always prevailed and magically worked as the catalyst in my learning, and most importantly, unlearning from these people. Unconsciously, these amazing people also worked out to be the live theaters of my experiments with my life's scripts. Sharing with you as a writer, is essentially my very modest way to express my gratitude for all of them. In my stupidities is my innocence of love for all my beautifully worthy conspirators. Ebooks by Santosh Jha. Naked Solutions of Dressed Up Life Woes. Non-fiction, Empowering Consciousness, Life Wellness, Personal Excellence, Word, 23,000 approximately. Short description. The world we live in, is what it is, neither good nor bad. It is people, who are the theatre of all pains as well as joys. The human mind is the most capable and instinctively galvanized mechanism to solve big problems. Still, the same human consciousness is the most potent trouble. The core trouble is, modern-day problems are so dressed up, partly by our complex environment and partly by our consciousness, that we fail to see the naked reality of the nature of problems. We can see them clearly, if we undress them. It is an art we all can master. How? Extended description. Solution of problems is not a big task. If you have a problem, you already know it. That solution is somewhere inherent and embedded in the problem itself. The milieu around us presents some factors in an arrangement, which stand in our disadvantage, at a particular stage of our life positioning, and we call the outcome of such an arrangement as a problem. Often, solution presents itself as some alternative arrangement or placement of the same factors in such a way that they turn advantageous for us, hence qualifying as a solution. In most cases, especially the modern-day problems we face, the artistry of arriving at solutions is not in creating or generating something externally, but in rearranging and repositioning the already present factors and elements in some alternative ways. That is why we need little action but loads of calm and objective reception in analyzing the factors that essentially constitute a problem. We talk like friends about the mechanisms of problems and solutions in an assimilative and integrative way. Tags: empowerment, higher consciousness, problem solving, self-exploration, mind positioning, receptive mode awareness, life randomization, multidimensionality of realism, new thinking, true intelligence, personal assimilation and integration, holistic worldview, symbiotic subconscious, sensory symmetry, psychological poise, unlearning, wisdom, generic and specific subject, relationship realisms, love and wellness, winning genius. Habitual hero, the art of winning. Non-fiction, empowering consciousness, life wellness, personal excellence, word, 19,000 approx, language English. Short description: in all of us, there is this definite winner, the genius of this universe. However, this champion is what we can label as random warrior, as it wins but not always. We all have the determination, patience, courage, discipline and the mastery to be a sure and sustained all-weather all-season hero. However, as many of us miss the knowledge and acceptance of this mechanism of winning, this warrior turns out to be only a random winner, unable to sustain the artistry of winning, to qualify as a habitual hero. Extended description: there is a definite hero in all of us. We all have an inbuilt and natural ability, a born facility, which makes us eligible for understanding the mechanism of winning. The only trouble is, eligibility is not automatic qualification. All of us are born with a facility called instinctive inquisitiveness. This is our born eligibility. However, we need to orient and align our inquisitiveness towards objective knowledge to qualify as an intelligent person, who is the master of mechanisms, not only the puppet of mechanism. It is the mind consciousness, which makes us a random warrior, and it is the same mind, which holds the potential of we being the all-weather and all-season hero, the cherished pole position, for which we all have born eligibility. We talk like friends about this mechanism of being a habitual hero in an assimilative and integrative way. Tags: empowerment, higher consciousness, mechanism of winning, self-exploration, mind positioning, receptive mode awareness, life randomization, multidimensionality of realism, new thinking, true intelligence, personal assimilation and integration, holistic worldview, symbiotic subconscious, sensory symmetry, psychological poise, unlearning, wisdom, generic and specific subject, relationship realisms, love and wellness. Maya and Leela, utility in life's futility. Non-fiction, empowering consciousness, life wellness, personal excellence, word, 21,000 approx, language English. Short description. Most of us, living in modern contemporary world of complexities, conflicts and confusion, have questions as what a good and righteous person should consider as perpetual utility in life, amidst the general feeling of futility of everything around. What is this singular life and living positioning, which can make us live the life in a perpetually joyous state of consciousness, endowed with true utilities, shunning away all those futilities, which land us in pain and regret? Extended description: almost everything, which has a utility at one stage of life, stands a good chance of qualifying for futility later. For all thinking people, the larger conflict of life and living experiences is unraveled and expressed in multidimensional cyclicality of utility and futility. The inquisitive mind and its curious energy cannot leave a thinking person to rest in perpetuity of peace, as the world we live in is colossal and the questions of life and living conflicts and conundrums are infinite. However, we all need to be sure that this unsettling energy of conflict is a huge gift, not a burden. Hundreds of years back, the old wisdom, spiritualism and philosophy offered us sure answers, but in time, they have lost trust with us somehow, as they seem to somehow misfit with modern ideas. We shall talk like friends about these issues in the light of a new thinking, which assimilates and integrates all wisdoms, spiritualism, philosophy and science. Being in true utilities of life is essential, as it lands us in perpetuity of infinite joy and wellness. Tags: empowerment, higher consciousness, utility and futility, karma, self-exploration, mind positioning, receptive mode awareness, life randomization, multidimensionality of realism, new thinking, true intelligence, contemporary spiritualism, assimilation and integration, holistic symbiotic wisdom, sensory symmetry, psychological poise, unlearning, wisdom, generic and specific subject, immortality, life purpose and purity. Why we flop in love. Non-fiction, empowering consciousness, life wellness, personal excellence, word, 20,000 approx, language English. Short description. Love is ideally accepted with three elements of mystery, magic and marvel. The three Ms land most of us in inexplicable troubles and pains of love. The magnificent dualism is, love's mystery makes it flamboyantly attractive and joyful. Still, the mysticism engenders loads of confusion, making many of us flop in love. Success of love is in non-dualistic positioning, which is simple and practical realism, most of us refuse to accept. Extended description. The dualism is in the mysticism, magic and marvel of love. This mysticism of love is what most lovers get attracted to initially. This suits the consciousness of love. This marvel of love gives the men and women huge kicks of life. Young minds get huge thrills in journeying amidst the mist of mysticism of love, as precariousness of the enterprise always has its own joy. Similar is the human desire, when it comes to religion and spiritualism. Mysticism is preferred state here too. However, this mysticism further confuses those in love and faith, and this confusion in turn leads to calamitous patterns of behaviors and actions in love. The resultant pain and chaos is cyclic. However, the new thinking explains hitherto unexplored aspects of the physical, biochemical, emotional and other mechanisms and processes of love, as human mind handles them, in a holistic, assimilative and integrative way. This surely takes away lots of mysticism, magic and marvel out of the age-old notion of love and archetypal imagery of love in society. However, it is hugely helpful in clearing the mist of confusion and chaos around the very core idea of love. This surely makes us be successful in love and relish true love and absolute intimacy. Tags. Love, intimacy, wellness, homeostasis, poise, magic, marvel, dualism and non-dualism, empowerment, higher consciousness, mechanism of winning, self-exploration, mind positioning, personal assimilation and integration, holistic worldview, unlearning, wisdom, subjectivism, relationship realisms. Wisdom of wellness, perpetuity of poise of purpose. Non-fiction, empowering consciousness, life wellness, personal excellence, word, 20,000 approx, language English. Short description. One needs to be in lasting physical, emotional and ideational wellness. Tips, bills, and shows abound. Still, wellness is elusive. Wellness is largely a function of emotional poise of consciousness. Wisdom of wellness is in being the master of mechanism, internalizing the multifaceted life-living realisms and then, creating a personalized model of wellness. Nothing external helps. Long description. Wellness is a function of wider poise of person and personality, which includes factors not only material but also emotional. A person is in complete wellness when there is an overall poise between the cognitive factors such as income, wealth, comfort, leisure and health, as well as emotional factors such as trust, security, integration with family, friends, colleagues, connectivity, communication, stability, sense of desirability and spiritual purpose, etc. We live in a modern complex world, where cognitive elements of good life are improving considerably. However, as emotional elements of life and living are largely unsettled and conflicted, most of us fail to hit the road of the perpetuity of poise for larger wellness. Wellness involves a large spectrum of poise in multidimensional domains, the spiritual, physical, mental, social and emotional. Moreover, the emotional and spiritual aspect of wellness is far more complex than the cognitive ones, as they are the intangibles of life. Wellness is a dynamic idea. It is a goal of life, for which we all need to strive every day. Wellness is not a static state. It is not like wealth, which we acquire once and keep it for long. It requires ongoing attention and timely intervention to the details of evolving social, spiritual and physical life. Wellness as a holistic notion of physical, emotional as well as ideational prosperity does not mean only lack of impediments to good life, but also having loads of ingredients of good life. For wellness, positivity is far more crucial than simple lack of negativity. Wellness is well within the reach of all of us, yet we all need to constantly redefine ourselves as well our notion of wellness, as our minds and bodies evolve to optimize capacities and excellence. Wellness is essentially a consciousness positioning. It is not an external or tangible entity, which one can create like wealth. Wellness is a poise of consciousness, which is engendered when we have all elements of our life, physical, emotional, ideational and material, in perfect harmony and symmetry with each other. We are ourselves a very complex mechanism. The world we live in has also become hugely complicated and conflicted. The cosmic realism is awesomely complex. Wellness poise needs to connect with all these and then strike a lasting poise. This poise is not static but dynamic, constantly evolving and changing. Only that person can attain perfect wellness and remain in perpetuity of it, who understands all the mechanisms in details and then uses the wisdom to create a wellness model for himself or herself. We talk in details here, how the old wisdom still has lot to offer to our wellness needs and how we all can create our own personalized and subjective model of wellness, taking ideas from old as well as new wisdoms of humanity. This shall make all of us to be the master of mechanism of wellness. Tags: Wellness, Wisdom, Revisiting Religion, New Spiritualism, Consciousness, Cognition, Causality, Contemporary Common Sense, Empowerment, Karma, Self-Exploration, Higher Consciousness, Mind Positioning, Receptive Mode Awareness, Life Randomization, Multidimensionality of Realism, New Thinking, True Intelligence, Personal Assimilation and Integration, Holistic Worldview, Symbiotic Subconscious, Sensory Symmetry, Mind-Body Poise, Unlearning, Generic and Specific Subject. Youth Sanity in Crazy Culture. Short description in contemporary culture of hypocrisy, conflict and confusion, where even adults are in a flux over benchmarks of real success and self-worth. The young being advised about sanity and sensibility, lands as big a joke for them. The youth needs a worldview, enabling them to see through the hypocrisy and perplexity of pop culture, offering them a date with real intelligence and life realism. Detailed description. As a youngster looks around, loads of conflicts and hypocrisies pop up everywhere, be it society, culture, economy or politics. The youth are told to follow a number of ideals and goodness. The youngsters shall seldom accept them as, firstly, they have doubts over their utility. Secondly, it is always easy for them to decipher that all these expectations from them have perceptible elements of hypocrisy and conflicts of interests. It does not take a genius to see through it. They can see that they are asked to keep away from alcohol and drugs, whereas, everywhere in society and popular culture, people young and old are deep down into it. They are asked to keep away from sex, but everywhere, everyone seems to be indulging in it and almost all things around them have sexual overtones to it. They are told to be calm and cool in a societal space, where gun culture and rage is calamitously growing. This hypocrisy is so open and clearly visible all around that it is impossible for them to accept the prescriptions against their utility, as one huge futility. Very clearly, this is no solution. The solution is in knowledge of objective and neutral realities. The solution is in a worldview of holism and not that of parts. The trouble of all mechanisms, which are offered to youth as educational or prescriptive tools for eliciting appropriate action behavior benchmarks from them is, they are all only part facts and knowledge. They are shown only half picture of life living realism as it is believed. They either cannot understand the full picture or it shall be dangerous or inappropriate to give them the whole picture. Dare show them the full picture and see how it works and wins. Tags: sanity, life aesthetics, populism, cultural hypocrisy, dualism of idealism, prudence and proportion, leadership, mechanisms, markets and media, evolution, male-female bonding, mechanism of sexuality, deciphering patterns, life-living excellence, consciousness, systemic neutrality, poison psychosis, life goals, optimizing potential. Back to Bliss, A Journey to Zero. Literary fiction, novel, a love story in catalytic contemporary culture of conflicts, word, 78,000 approx, language English. Short description. Battling against hypocrisies, sadomasochism and perfunctory pursuits of pop benchmarks of successes, he refuses the passion-oriented male worldview of karma and life's purposes. Metamorphosed by compassion, that love's innocence fills him with, he opts for a journey that takes him far away from the stupidity of self-worth, calculated in terms of personal utility, individualistic possession and unfettered consumption. Does he arrive? Extended description. Mayank Misra, a 34-year-old news editor with a newspaper in an Indian city, takes up the challenges in his personal as well as professional lives, caught between the conflicting agendas of passion and compassion. His passion calls him to battle the hypocrisies, which the popular benchmarks of the societal notions fill up his professional as well as personal universe with. Then, the innocence of love and total intimacy exposes him to compassion, leading him to diametrically opposite life energies, marked by forgiveness. He realizes, he's standing beyond the best of the potentials and capabilities of his accultured and uninhibited mind is his own God, but he needs an unlearning mechanism to delete the wrong programming of his mind. In the contemporary worldview, which paints the hypocrisy of art and lies about idealisms, he templates sketches of heroic moments of personal crises to break free from the suffocation of the optionlessness of pop success, with humble reception of the sanity of simplicity and innocence. How he manages his personal and societal conflicts, rises above his encumbrances and finally picks up a road less traversed for a journey, which makes him feel he has already arrived, sums up the novel. Tags: literary fiction, love story, media ills, corporate conundrums, behavioral corruption, personal and societal conflicts, pop pursuits, hypocrisy, sadomasochism, success benchmarks, heroic crisis, compassion, intimacy, innocence of love, gender neutrality, unlearning in love, accultured mind, metamorphosis, forgiveness, sanity of simplicity, life journey, optionlessness, arriving. Onlyness. Literary fiction, a novel about life-living choices from the perspective of a very successful contemporary woman, word, 38,000 approx, language English. Available at Amazon KDP Select. Short description. Dumped by her billionaire fiancé, a resplendently beautiful woman, the reigning royalty of Hollywood's Dream Factory, lands herself in all sorts of woes, hospitalization for slipping pill overdose, bad press, peer group backstabbing and paparazzi. She escapes to anonymity at India's yoga capital, but the threat of paparazzi follows. A young yogi bails her out and detours her to an unusual world where he introduces her to the superconsciousness of onlyness within her. The redeemed empress unconsciously discovers her true elements being in linearity with that of the yogi and believes she may be second-time lucky. However, more shocks await her. The singularities of life have elemental eccentricities of happening and unhappening, almost as weird and randomized as love. The elements of one's own life and that of the equally precarious milieus are both patterned as well as unpatterned. The juxtaposition of symmetrical possibilities amid the larger probabilistic asymmetry of arbitrary milieus engender such beautiful marvels of life-living experiences, which people can accept only in one way, the destiny. The true and lasting relationship can happen only between similar and generic elements. Destinies shape this way. What destiny has in store for Melissa, the Empress, who finds a yogi in her new and metamorphosed life, shall be decided not by factors outside in her near and far milieus, rather by what she finally accepts as something, which is her own internal positioning of consciousness. The moment she accepts, love shall happen and destiny shall be signed in. Tags: Women Fiction, Life Living Choices, Personal Wellness, Yogic Philosophy, Elemental Intimacy, Higher Consciousness, Man-Woman Relationship. Redeem and Reinvent the Art of Lost Wellness. Non-fiction, Empowering Consciousness, Life Wellness, Personal Excellence, Word, 17,000 approximately. Short description. The world we live is what it is, neither good nor bad. It is neutral and objective. Wellness is largely individual onus. As we acquire and practice those life skills, which make life wellness a beautiful journey for us, our mind is attuned to them. We then have an auto mechanism for larger wellness. Time to test our life skill quotient LSQ. Autobiography of a Duffer. Short description. A witty but insightful narration of normal and orderly cultural realisms of contemporary world, from the perspective of a young duffer. This duffer believes, a normal person should know how this world looks to a stupid, whom the world loves to label abnormal and disordered, to truly visualize realities of benchmarking. This duffer's wife asked him to make it different. He truly does it? Detailed description. In the words of the duffer itself, I must say I am not very inclined to do what I am doing. I am just 23 years old and all I can garner, as my achievement in life is my Class 12 exam, which I passed against the wildest expectation of my family and friends. Yes, my life has been full of unimaginable stupidities, but I cannot accept my wife's suggestion that people would be interested in knowing about them and will derive the sadistic pleasure that they were not as duffer as me. I have my truths, I have my life experiences and my revelations, which my stupidities and that of others bestowed on me have made possible. However, I am not confident people will even accept them. Acceptance is not the contemporary intellectualism. I have seen it all through my life. In Twitter and Facebook, everyone is out to prove other wrong. Rejecting and rubbishing innocence has come to be recognized as highest intellectual pursuit. My wife has told me, why would anyone listen to you if you are not different? And she seems to be right, as being different has become the core creed of intellectualism. But then, the question is, why anyone shall be interested in my stupidities? There are already so many around. Actually, all human stupidities and idiocy are primeval and all-pervasive. I am not saying this, the whole world around me is out to prove that there are so many stupid politicians, bureaucrats and silly middle class around, who are making life hell for others. And, as aping is first instinct of humanity, everyone feels so happily inclined in adding loads of repeat value to these foolishnesses, which they decipher in others. Why should anyone be interested in my own, when mine are definitively anything but different? My wife works in publishing industry. To be very honest, she asked me to write my biography and even assured me that she would push it through to the bookstores. She has advised me to make it fully loaded. If you can rake in unpatterned madness and patent sex in your book, you may even find a publisher yourself, otherwise I am here for you, she has told me. She is only 3 years older to me but always bosses on me. I am not sure what she means and what I can rake in. But I am not stuck, I move ahead. The duffer says, it is his autobiography and that is why he is writing what he feels. If people do not like it, they always have their turn, when they write their own. Tags: Young Adult, Life Living Choices, Cultural Benchmarking, Humor, Parenting, Behavioral Standards, Hypocrisy, Righteousness, Innocence. Decipher Destiny, Decode God's Will. Non-fiction, Empowering Consciousness, life wellness, personal excellence, word, 20,000 approx, language English. Short description: there is a mechanism to all probabilities in life, which we call God's will. This mechanism has its own energy and patterns of possibilities. Those who succeed decipher this mechanism and the patterns, which are there for anyone to see. We attain success and excellence as we align our personal energy with this energy of the cosmic mechanism. God's will is then in linearity with our wish. Detailed description: everything around us, be it our little home or the colossal cosmos, has a mechanism and a process, which makes the mechanism work. As this mechanism and process works, perceptible and discernible patterns emerge, which we all can understand and accept. God is unraveled and His will is deciphered in the mechanism, processes and patterns around us. The wise have said it that God is in details. If we open ourselves to this consciousness, where we can understand and accept these mechanism, processes and patterns around us, we shall not need to delegate all happenings to God. Of course, still loads of probabilities shall be there for God to handle, but we can make Him happy by picking up those for ourselves, which we can and should do. As we do it, many of the probabilities of happenings become replicable and doable by ourselves. There is no need to trouble God to make it happen. With our personal inputs and with some calculated design of destiny, we can make many of these probable events and things happen. God has created the mechanism of absolute excellence for all of us. We need to have our own evolution right to reach at the point where our gods and we stand side by side. We attempt to unravel this artistry of deciphering destiny, with helps from notions of quantum consciousness et al. DAGS. Destiny, God's will, cosmic mechanism, deciphering patterns, karma, linearity of energies, excellence, quantum consciousness, systemic neutrality, randomization of probabilities, personal inputs, synchronicity, poison psychosis, life goals, optimizing potential. Do kindly write to me. sdrite@gmail.com. Connect with Santosh Jha. Facebook, https://www.facebook.com/profile.php. ID equals 1000685986765. Google Plus, https://plus.google.com/1016874864776850327 Partnered equals ogb0blog, http://zerostick.blogspot.in. Twitter, https://twitter.com/strite/words, https://www.smashwords.com/profile/view/Santosh Jha. http://amazon.com/author/Santosh Jha script, http://www.scribd.com/strite Goodreads, https://www.goodreads.com/author/show/7336468.santosh_Jha